Alright, so you clicked on this video because you are a silver rank player who I assume needs help ranking up. Well, I can assure you that you have come to the best possible source for that, as I have coached countless silver players in the past, and many of which who have actually ranked out of silver after my coaching, a few days after my coaching in fact. So, welcome to possibly one of the best silver guides that you will find. Now, the reason why this is the best silver guide is because throughout my coaching, personal coaching that I offer with many different silver players, I've kind of come to a conclusion of many different problems that I've seen silver players make. And so in today's video, I've made a little bit of like a compilation of those issues, and so we're just going to go ahead and review all of those. So starting with the first thing, if you want to escape silver, you need to have better mechanics. Now obviously that's kind of a broad general term, but let's talk about specifically what mechanics separate a silver player from like a plat player, for example, and that would be movement. Now even in plat, I would claim that they don't really have good movement, to be honest, but something that every silver player should keep in mind is that good aim without good movement is not good aim. I probably could have worded that better, to be honest, but you get the point. So anyways, let's jump right into why your movement might be lacking and how you can improve on that to actually play better. So first off, let's look at this map right here. Let's talk about kill zones. Okay, so kill zones is basically the idea where you are initially entering the site. So for example, this entire area from here to here, right? This is the kill zone area. If you are walking into sight from here, you are essentially exposed to multiple different angles and you are unable to stop before they can peek and shoot you. So what do I mean by that? So in this game, there's two different types of peeking, right? There is the W and D peeking, or not W, A and D peeking, which is the fastest method of peeking. If you peek an opponent like this using your A and D keys, then you can stop instantly and shoot them. Whereas if you peek someone while you're walking forward, then they will get you before you can get them. So that's just something to keep in mind. So you never want to be caught holding your W key in any scenario where you might be taking a battle. So what does that mean, right? Well, that means that the only time you should ever be holding your W key in the competitive is if you know for a fact that the opponents are not nearby. If you know for sure that they are not nearby, then would be a good time for you to hold W key. So how would you scale something like a kill zone here, for example? Because obviously when you're in the kill zone, you are exposed to many different angles and they can peek into you because you have to hold W, right? So this is where movement tech comes in. I'm going to show you guys a little bit of a movement trick here, okay? So first off, as you get into higher elo, you won't really need this movement trick as much because you'll have lots of supporting util. So for example, if I want to scale a kill zone, I might flash high, right? And then with that flash, while it lasts, I'll scale up to here. If the flash dissipates right here, I'll just throw another flash and then I'll scale again. Right, so notice how I'm able to scale the entire kill zone with just 2 flashes, right? And as you get higher in elo, they'll have better utility to help support you, so that way you can scale faster. Now let's talk about the other ways of scaling, areas which are kind of risky to scale. Well, that would be the WD, WA strat, where you are simply tapping your WA and your WD key at the same time so that you can move forward and also stop the moment someone peeks into you. That's the 100 ping diff right there. But anyways, so if someone's peeking into me, right, and I'm only holding my W key, I am bound to get instantly tapped, right? But if someone peeks into me and I'm scaling like this, then they are bound to get instantly tapped. You see the difference? So you're kind of flipping the script on them. Now, you won't really have to use this movement method as much as you might think, right? It's very situational because a lot of times you can just scale these kill zones with, you know, utility basically. So that's something to keep in mind. Now let's talk about the other side of movement that I find a lot of silver players lack in once again, which is the movement aim, okay, aspect of it. So let's talk about aim in general in this game, right? So there's 2 different types of aim. You could stand still, right? And you could aim like this. Right, so this is just like standing still aim, right? So if I'm standing fully still and I want to hit that spot, I would just stand still and hit that spot, right? But let's talk about movement aim. This is what movement aim would look like. So it might just seem to you like I'm just moving side to side and shooting in one area. And while that is kind of true in the example that I showed you, let me show you guys a better example. So let's say we have Jet here, and Jet is, let's say, holding this corner right here. Okay, so you're holding this corner and you're looking at me. So you're facing me. Yep. So if I know that the Jet is here, right, would I just kind of swing like this and then go like this? And then just stop and shoot? That's what a lot of silver players do. So for example, silver players will pick an angle, like for example, Jet, if you can go here and stand here and just face me. Perfect. So let's say a silver player was peeking this angle. They might kind of just peek like this and then stand still and then go for the kill. So let me turn on auto respawn. So they would just kind of like go like this, right? That's kind of how a silver player might peek it. Now auto respawn should be on. I don't know if you didn't respawn or not. You might have to turn it on for yourself. Your mic is cutting out. Let me type it in. Turn on auto respawn. Okay, let's see if that works. Alright, let's see. Okay, perfect. So now they're back. Alright, so let me show you the difference. So a silver player, again, will kind of just like peek, you know, using two different keys at the same time, and then they'll just fully stop and take a shot. So even if you have good standing aim as a silver player, it's not going to help you rank up to the rank that you want to rank up to, because good standing aim alone is not enough. So how would a higher elo player peek this? Well, first off, we'd be using our A and D keys only. Right, so we'd get our crosshairs situated where we want to peek into, and then we'd use our A and D keys only, right? And we would fully use our movement to peek. So watch this. Notice how I did not stop my movement whatsoever. So I peeked into the angle, and the moment I shot my bullet, I'm already peeking out of the angle, right? This is called movement aim, right? Where you're using your movement to help you aim. So in other words, if I wanted to, let me show you guys an example. So Jack, you can go back here, just stand there again. If I just let go of my mouse and I just put my crosshair in the right area, I could literally just peek in and just do a little micro adjustment and boom. So in theory, what's happening here is we're allowing our movement to do most of the work, and then we're just doing a little micro adjustment to our target, right? This is quite literally I don't want to say the best way of aiming, because there's many different styles to aiming, but this is more so the more common way of aiming in higher elo, is you allow your movement, right, to get your crosshair already positioned and allow your movement to throw off the enemy's crosshair, and then you just make the little micro adjustment that you have to make. So that's what every silver player should strive to learn, right? You should strive to learn being able to get your crosshair positioned based off of your movement, and then just do a little micro adjustment if you need to. There's many different ways to practice this. In the range, that's one way. And another way that I highly recommend, which a lot of other coaches would also recommend, is you bind your W key to your knife. So I'll show you guys what that looks like. You go to your controls, I believe. You go to W key and you put it to, or sorry, you go down to equipment. You go to your, let's see, equip melee, and you put it to W. So now, every time I hit W, it's going to pull out my knife, and I run as many death matches as I can with this keybind. Because what's going to happen is in the game of deathmatch, you'll learn to use your movement more now, and you'll learn how to peek angles better using only your your A and D keys, right? And that's what you want to do. You want to learn to peek angles using only your A and D keys, and you want to learn to, you know, take movement fights. So that's one of the biggest things that I've seen silver players lack in, aside from game sense. Now obviously when it comes to something like game sense, you know, that's obviously very situational, very unique to the individual and what they lack in. So that's where I would recommend you get some sort of coaching, whether it be mine or any other coaches. There's very, very good coaches out there as well. So anyone that you feel fit and that you would like to get help from, I would recommend when it comes to game sense. Because the thing with game sense is if you're at a low level like silver, for example, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but if you are in a lower elo like silver, it's hard for you to VOD review your own games because there's a lot that you don't know yet, right? So in higher elo, what players will do is they'll record their own games and they'll review it themselves, right? And to see what mistakes they're making. But if you are in a lower elo like silver, it's hard for you to know what mistakes you're making, even if you see those mistakes happening. So what I would recommend for lower elos is to get some sort of coaching. But anyways, regardless, aside from those things, I think the main thing for every silver player needs to master is their movement aim, and understanding that you can use your movement in majority of your gunfights versus just peeking and standing still, right? So that's something that I wanted to kind of touch on this video, guys. And I did also do a peeking guide specifically talking about the different styles of peeking. So if anyone wants to check that out, if you want to get even more in-depth explanation on how you should be peeking and using your movement, I would suggest that you guys check that out. But otherwise, I hope you guys enjoyed the video and take care.